The following program was made possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Beware your host, Jonathan Holmes!
Hello, everybody. It's the second to last episode of Sup Holmes. Can you believe it? It's so weird. Been doing this for so long, I think 4 years. And I wore a button-up shirt today because we have a very formal occasion. There'll be no horsing around this week. Serious business with two game developers who I do not think I've ever met before. We've got Robin Arnott.
Hi.
On Sound Self. Hi, Robin. Great to see you. What a cool thing behind you. What is that thing?
That's a piece of art I've had for about 10 years. I still see new stuff in it all the time. It's made by somebody with not the cheeriest disposition on global politics.
It's so boldly sepia and willing to be understated while filled with detail. Not unlike your work, sir. You are totally willing to go out there and understate to the max. You're like ready to not get attention.
Not state a thing.
And yet fill your work with such details that they end up evoking all these emotions, and people don't even know why they're having those emotions. Sound Self being one example of that, which has been in the works for some time. And your work on games like The Stanley Parable and Antichamber, filling people with feelings that they don't realize they're feeling because they're distracted by the visuals. But you're willing to not distract with visuals. You're willing to take that leap.
Well, so you're right about, like, with Antichamber, it's funny, we're visual thinkers. We're visual thinkers. We think visually. Mm-hmm. And so with Antichamber, what I was trying to do with the sound, like, I knew I could get away with a lot with the sound design and that you wouldn't notice how it was affecting you. Mm. So all of Antichamber sound design is there to kind of calm you and give you more patience with the puzzles, bird sound and so on. And Sound Self, I don't think it's so much that, like, I think it's a very visual game. It's just like we're abandoning... It's entirely abstract. The whole thing is, which just means there's nothing there for your mind to grab onto, and what's left is just like
so it is
feelings, emotions, feelings, stuff that you can't put names and labels and words to.
Right.
Yeah.
Things that scare people when it's time for them to talk about video games. For them to latch onto a game and say, I'm going to identify with this. I'm going to represent this. I'm going to be on Team Sound Self. People, it takes a leap, but when people do take that leap, very passionate, very excited about it.
Yeah, it's also a difficult game to communicate because it's completely non-symbolic. Because there's no goals, there's no characters. It's you're wearing a virtual reality headset or not, but ideally you're wearing a virtual reality headset, and then you're getting pummeled with abstract visuals and sounds. And that's just sort of difficult to convey verbally. How do you do? I mean, you've played Sound Self. How do you describe it?
Yeah, you would have to talk about physically what happens to you when you get ready to play it. So you need to walk someone through the experience of that, and then try to talk about emotions for a little bit in the middle. When you say what actually happens, you're like, then feelings happen and you feel like you're not totally in the world anymore. And then you come out of it, and it is like coming out of the dream, which I'm going to use as a segue into our other guest who people haven't seen yet, Talha Kaya, who's on the show. Hi, Talha. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Talha's first game that I ever played was called Sleepy Time, which is about folks who are about to enter into a dream state who feel friggin' terrible. They feel so bad about just about everything, it seems. Talha composed the music with his brother for the game. Is that right?
No, it's just me.
Oh, it was just you. Sorry, I didn't mean to give your brother. Is there a real Tahla? Is there a real Kaya brother? Well, or is it like adaptation where it's like a fake made-up brother to talk about your relationship with yourself?
No, there's a real brother. He's just lazy. So I do all the work and he doesn't do anything.
But your studio is called the Kaya Brothers, right?
Yeah, it is. He just wants to take credit for everything I do. So I let him. he's actually listening to us right now. So no, he's the like coder type, and I'm the more artsy like music and stuff type.
Sure. So he builds the foundation in which your games are structured in, and you do the music, the art, the concepts, that sort of thing.
But I do coding too, but he just makes other stuff. And we just put them under the same name under Kaya Bros. So
Okay.
yeah.
Bros, I should have said, as opposed to brothers. And have you, Talha, played any of Robin's games before? Have you played Antechamber, Stanley Parable, Sound Self, any of those?
Yeah, I played Antechamber. I really liked it. I also tried Sound Self, but not a VR, not with a VR set. But yeah, I really liked the visuals and the sounds, but I couldn't handle the, I don't know, it's very focused. It's like too much for me. So I'm like, okay, I'm too fragile to this kind of experience. So
I'm curious when you
I
played
cannot-
it. Because that's like the experience you're describing is something that was very common with us in a certain phase of our development, where there was a whole year or so where my entire goal was, let's just make this as intense as possible. And at the end of that year, it was just like, okay, we got to pull off on the intensity because we're giving people some bad trips. Like
Yeah, Talha, do you remember what year you played it in?
It was a few years ago, so I think it was called an alpha build, but like maybe in 2014, probably.
So
I think that's probably around the time we were going crazy intense on stuff.
And Robin, how did you go about making it so intense?
Well, it was a lot of it was just adding a lot of different visualization in, totally changing the way the sound worked. The first version of the game that we did was just very soft and nice, and that was sort of set the tone for us. But I wanted to go bolder, I wanted to go heavier, I wanted to go more intense, and so we brought on Cale Bradbury to do a whole bunch of visualizations. I started reworking the sound design, adding tons of different sounds in, but it's just like, for me, it's great. My favorite movie is Enter the Void, so I have a really high threshold of tolerance for basically getting face fucked with sounds and images. But most people don't have the same tolerance as I do. So,
Most
When you
people
imagine
don't like
your-
getting face fucked.
And I have to imagine, Robin, that you've been so close to the game for so long that if you want to try to get stimulation from your own work, from looking in this mirror in that way, you'd have to change things in order to feel things again, because you might be pretty used to it.
Well, surprisingly not. Like, whenever I do play it, I have to be careful when I'm testing it, because when I start to, like, okay, I just want to test this thing quickly and see if it's worked properly, and then 10 minutes will have passed and I'm just zoned. I mean, it's a hypnosis game. It uses hypnosis effects or hypnosis techniques, and so, like, even just as I'm going to debug it, like test something quickly, it still sucks me into it. And I have to kind of shake myself out of it to be like, okay, no, I have to change that value over here.
I don't know if people realize that it was technically using proven hypnosis techniques. Are they proven techniques, or is it just hypnotic in general?
I think Sound Self is a lot more. It's not like I was doing some research on hypnosis and trance and so on. So yeah, it is using proven hypnosis techniques. But like, video game, we're hypnotized by our media all around. So I don't make a big deal of talking about it, because the difference between using hypnosis techniques like I'm doing and not in a video game is, I think, the difference between using hypnosis techniques intentionally and using them unintentionally. And if you're making a game, design is a system that interacts with your system of personality, your system of personhood, and you can't help but play a game but be hypnotized by it, but be entranced by it. That's exactly what our medium does best. So it's not like, I guess it's kind of like interesting to talk about, but at the same time, it's also like, yeah, we're doing that all the time, everywhere, in video games and advertising and media.
Do you remember when you first realized that to engage with a game is to be hypnotized by it, to enter that flow state that so many developers talk about when you stimulate senses enough that they're reach to their maximum capacity physically, sonically, in terms of your vision, that you're fully engaged, but not more than you can handle or less. Then you enter this state where time seems to exist in a different way, and you can become quite euphoric. I think this is what you might have been going for.
It's totally what I was going for.
Yeah, but without a lot of the, you didn't do it through like platforming mechanics.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like the part of game design that I'm interested in is something that's going on in other games all the time. The extension, like if you're playing Mario, this is an example I use a lot. If you're playing Mario, you don't think I'm pressing this button and making Mario jump. You think I jump. Right, so there's this extension of identity already happening in video games. There's this hypnosis stuff already happening in video games, and the way I guess approach this is like, I think those things are sort of side effects of game design for most designers. And from my perspective, just what I'm interested in, I'm not interested in interfacing with the person's mind. I'm interested in interfacing with the person's like whole experience of selfhood. And so to me, the interesting stuff is that extension of self that happens when you press jump when you're playing Mario, not the getting through the levels, not the narrative stuff, not the feeling good about yourself as you achieve certain things, but is the sort of fundamental changes in what happens to your sense of what and who and how you are, what you are existentially. And so yeah, the way I see it, like as a game designer, all I'm doing is just focusing on an element that's already present in all game design, but is just not usually the focus of the design. Is usually kind of more of a side effect.
Just as sound itself is an element of most games, but it's not one that people, I'm sure you've read many video game reviews and waited for the paragraph about the sound design and been sad to find, oh, they never got around to it. They just talked about graphics and gameplay.
No, like because like I say, we're visual thinkers. So if you're noticing the sound design, then like I think back when I was doing more sound design, I wanted the sound design to go unnoticed because just because it's not being noticed doesn't mean it's not effective.
Sure.
So like to me that's magic. To me, like reading a game review or something like that and being like, wow, I know the sound design of this game was incredible. Just like I remember when I played Limbo and cried and cried and cried, and the sound design was such a huge part of that. But it's a sign that it's working that people don't talk about it more. Just like the hypnosis stuff, it's a sign that it's working that people don't talk about it more.
Sure. Which makes me curious about Talha and his approach to Sleepy Time, which I alluded to a little bit, a hypnotic game, a game very much about synthesis of sound and visuals and tactile experience. But it really throws you off at first because you're shocked that you are playing a game as just a sad masturbating man in the dark.
Yes.
And very few people, that shock value did throw me off at first. But then by the time I got to like the third level, I felt completely at one with the game. And I was just focusing on getting the rhythm down while I was trying to enjoy and pay attention to the lyrics. So it was overstimulating me to the point where I was being pushed to my limits, which helped me to get to the flow state, which made me have even more fun with it. And I'm sad it's only 6 levels long, right? 5.
Yes. It must be 6, I think.
I think so. All this stuff Robin was talking about, Robin being a philosopher and a analyzer and analyst. That's it. Finally got my word. Video game things, sound things, making things in general. He's going into game development with a lot of these thoughts floating around in his head. Then he pushes through his thoughts and gets to feeling and gets to some genuine inspirational moments that surprise him in his own design. Where are you at with that, Talha? When you made Sleepy Time, the sad masturbating men game, rhythm game, were you just going with your feeling, or did you have a bunch of design elements in your head that you were like excited to try to realize?
Well, I was just kind of depressed and not happy with the current situation of my life back then when I was in university and I didn't like to study all those courses about like computers because I studied computer engineering, so it was a bit hard for me to, uh, you really don't feel like you belong in an engineering faculty when you're, I don't know, when you're kind of an artsy guy, I guess.
What school were you at?
Turkey in Boğaziçi University.
Wow, you were studying there. Is that where you're from Turkey?
Yes, I'm from Turkey, but I recently moved to Barcelona, to Spain.
I'm relieved. I was terrified about the events I was hearing about in Turkey just these past couple of days with the hopefully failed coup and like the social media being pulled down for like the night and stuff like that. What a relief. So there you are in Turkey, engineering school, thinking about computers because you have to. Then you decide, you know what, I'm going to think about computers because I want to, and I'm going to use computers to make this music game about depression and being alone and masturbating. How did it? I'm so curious about how all that came together, and if you felt like you were doing something rebellious, doing something naughty, if your friends would approve, if your teachers would approve, or whether you didn't even think about that.
Well, there was definitely some type of punk attitude about it because I really didn't know what people would say. And I just went into it because I just thought it was funny. And when you're not feeling very well, it kind of making weird shit kind of makes you feel better, I guess. So I did that and I felt better, but then the game kind of caught on. So sites like Destructoid covered it, and for a while I was really ashamed of it, really, because back then I was a bit more religious. Now I'm not doing much with any religion, but back then I was still kind of a Muslim. So I was kind of ashamed of the thing that I put out there. But it took like a year after I released the game to actually be able to enjoy the fact that I made this weird, fucked up thing that, made some people laugh, made a lot of people felt disgust, I guess. I don't know. But, it's funny. And, games can do a lot of things, a lot of weird things. And this is just one of them. And, why not? It's just funny and it's not harmful. So, yeah.
It's
I'm gonna take a moment to play it a little bit while you guys talk. It's just here online on the website, right?
Yeah, streams
Yes.
pretty quickly.
Cool.
And in my opinion, the best song is the second to last song. And you probably won't get there for another 15 minutes, unfortunately. But the rhythm, yeah, absolutely. It ramps up in difficulty pretty quickly, but never in a punishing way, but in a way that makes you stressed that maybe you're failing, which I think is a perfect game for nighttime masturbation. It's a perfect theme for that. You're like, maybe I'm failing by doing this. You're kind of thinking that all the time. And to hear that you had, Talha had this kind of year-long shame around it, but then got through it. There's just so many ways that this is connecting around the general theme of depression, mental illness, being a depression, being a form of mental illness, masturbation being a taboo, and to push through that and to do it just for the sake of doing it because it was fun. That's another reason people might masturbate. That's the same reason you made the game. It was like masturbatory in more ways than one. It like fits the definition of that perfectly. But then you were ashamed that people found out, almost like they saw you masturbating. And then after a year of dealing with that, you were like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed anymore. This is something a lot of people do. This is something most people do. It doesn't harm anyone. Making this game didn't hurt anybody. Masturbating doesn't hurt anybody. Why be ashamed of it? Why feel guilt? someone was hurt. No one
And
was.
isn't that interesting? Like what you're talking about right now is pleasure, is following pleasure, is just following your own pleasure.
Yeah.
And yeah, like why? It says something really, I don't know. It's this beautiful dance between us as individuals and our culture that, like, yeah, that's awkward for us. Like even here on your title screen, you say Kaya Brothers awkwardly presents. Press any button or click. Okay.
And that awkwardness, you think, comes from this dance between us engaging in our culture and whether we fit with it or not, and whether we're comfortable even trying to fit with it or not, or whether we're going to take the punk rock route and fit into culture by defying culture and joining a culture of cultural defiance. Man, I said culture a lot in a row just there. And was that really where you got started with game development, Talha, or had you been making other stuff before that?
Are you hearing me right now?
Oh yeah, I'm hearing you good.
Because
Was that
I'm
your-
losing you
Oh, no.
for a second. And,
It's terrible. How about now?
sorry?
Hi.
Yes, it's okay, I think. Okay.
Okay. So was Sleepy Time your
I'm
first
just gonna
game?
talk and hope you hear me well.
Yes, perfect.
No, not at all. I made lots of games. I started making games when I was around 12. I started with a program called Game Maker. And I made a bunch of stuff then. And then in the university, my brother made a Flash game, and then got it sponsored. So he told me that, hey, dude, this is not just, you've been making games. This is not just, a hobby. You can make this into a serious thing. You can make this your job. So go ahead and learn Flash. So he kind of got me back into games. And then I made a bunch of sponsored Flash games. Then I took a long while to just make weird stuff like Sleepy Time, because I wanted to make a lot of small games to get better at what I'm doing. I wanted to be a kind of a prolific game developer, I guess you would call it.
Mhm.
Um,
And you've watched this show for a little bit.
so yeah, I've been watching years now. I'm a huge fan of this show. So yeah.
That's very kind of you, Talha, and I was excited to get you on the show before it concludes in the next episode. So that is great for me. Now you're working on Soul Searching, which is,
Yes.
how would you describe it? It's a top-down, it's definitely about playing a role, but is it a role-playing game? I don't know.
Well, it's an exploration game, I would call it, but it has a lot of some survival mechanics, and also a lot of just messing around on a little boat. You're this little guy on a boat, just trying to survive and go to places and meet people. And it's about like trying to get away from where you are, I guess, because this game actually focuses on a character that is, growing up, kind of. So there's this village tradition that makes young people move away from home just to prove that they are grown-ups now. So it revolves around this village tradition, and the world consists of a lot of small islands, just very small islands that you go to and talk to a few people, and then you move on. So you have a small boat, you go from island to island, you gather fruits and water and stuff to survive, and you sleep and you wake up, and there's some weird stuff happening that I'm not going to spoil. It's a bit, I'm trying some weird things with the storytelling. You probably saw some of it when you played the build. Yeah, it's about exploration, and very cliche, but it's about exploring yourself a bit, I guess.
Huh. Yeah. And visually, definitely look like it took a ton of work to put together. The world is very consistent. You've got an art direction that you're sticking to, but it's very detailed and very lush. A lot to bring it to life. Feels like you're committing a lot to this game. Is it something you've been working on for a while? Is it something you think you're going to have to be working on for some time in the future?
Well, I have to finish it sometime because I've been working on this game for like 2 years, more than
Has it been
2
that
years
long?
now.
All right.
Yeah. So
I think Robin is
I
back.
have to finish it sometime.
Yeah, I've got somewhere on my Kickstarter page. I can read this to you verbatim. On my Kickstarter page, it says, "It's coming." Oh, it's not coming. Anyway, on my Kickstarter page, it says, barring total catastrophe, there's no reason it won't be just done in 2014. Man, yeah, just.
And how many games worth of work do you think you've done on Sound Self? Because you've done iterations of it. You made the iteration that was super intense, and it sounds like you were close to that being its own game, its own version of Sound Self. And then you were like, I don't want Sound Self to be this. And then all of that just goes away, or is that going to
No,
be-
it all gets integrated into something newer and bigger. But there have been at least like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think this is like the fourth rebirth of the game, where from the ashes of its previous version, it's something bigger and better.
and how much of the old versions of it live on in the new versions?
Pretty much all of them, all of it. It just in a way. Like, here's the thing: it's an experiment. I don't think anything like this has ever been made, right? So the design process is necessarily extremely experimental, extremely trial and error to see what works, to see like how people respond to it. Like we don't have. If you're making a platformer, you have literally decades of research that are just in your instinct. You don't even need to read papers and play games. You've already played 20 years of platforming games. And even if you've not played 20 years of platforming games, if you've played any platforming game, that game is based on 20 years of platforming games. So it's internalized, right? When you're doing something totally new, as I think a lot of us are doing in virtual reality, there's a lot more fucking up.
And you were willing to embrace that. Talha was just talking about how he's been working on soul searching for 2 years, and that's something he was willing to embrace for some reason.
Yeah.
The reason I'm excited about. And you, Robin, have been working on Sound Self for 4 years?
For a little more than 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. And do you think you would have embraced it the way that you have if you knew it was going to take this long?
Oh no, I wouldn't have. I was expecting it to be about a 2-year project. Maybe 1.5 to 2 years, but it just kept like I saw so much promise in it, and at some point, like I'm sorry, how do I pronounce your name, Kaya?
Talha.
Talha? Yeah, like
Yes.
Talha was saying. Well, I don't remember what I was going to say now.
Happens, isn't it? When you get scared about saying a name wrong, totally throws me off.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. We were talking about how you were. Oh, we lost Robin.
I think
Son of a bitch.
yes.
These are the risks we run in this crazy live world of podcasts. But luckily, we have 2 guests. Hopefully, we'll get Robin back soon. So, Talha, hearing Robin speak, how does that make you feel? You two have talked a little bit on the show, which has been fun for me. Like at one point, I even thought I could like step back and you two would just take it away because you're both way more interesting than I'll ever be, making stuff that is so much more work, so much more of yourself put into it than me just talking on a video stream once a week. So nothing but respect for you guys. But hearing Robin speak, how is it making you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big commitment that you make when you get into something like Sound Self, or even maybe something smaller like soul searching. It's like a lot of, you just have to put your head in and do something if you want to, it's purely a self-motivated process. It's not
Mhm.
like I'm gonna make millions out of this game. I
Mhm.
probably very likely won't make a lot of money, but you know, it's purely self-motivated, and you just have to decide if it's important for you. You just do it. So
Sure. So you decide that more important than seeking money, more important than seeking fame, or just seeking comfort, because it's not always comfortable to have this responsibility hanging over your head. But do you get into a mode where you are comfortable and happy while you're just designing the game, when you're losing yourself, as you do when you're playing the game, as you're playing Robin's game as well, is making the game like playing it for you in any way? And Robin's back. Good. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Wow. You're a,
yeah, definitely. It's like the you have to kind of enjoy the process of creating it. So when you make any kind of creative thingy, you have to like really enjoy it, or it becomes a, uh, a trouble in your life. It's like uh,
and
it stales your life, and
then your life is
yeah.
bad. And this happens. People have actual bad lives that are real bad, and they stay bad for a long time. I hope neither of you have bad lives. Doesn't seem like you do, but you never know till you get in a little deeper.
Man, like we
My,
it's okay. So okay, stepping back for a minute, what I do, what Talha does, we make art. We get to just be like, oh, what's beautiful today? Oh, maybe I'll do this. This is beautiful, and still, sometimes that sucks. Sometimes it's just want to make something. I don't want to sit in front of my computer and, in one certain way, yeah, like we're so blessed to
Mm,
be artists. But I don't think like it's everything is ups and downs, right?
yeah.
Uh, Especially if you have a deep relationship with something, if it's your craft, right? I'm sure you're the same way. I mean, what's it like on this show? Is it fun all the time, or sometimes is it like, oh fuck this, Jesus, I don't want to do this goddamn interview with this artist whose work I fucking love. Ugh.
It's terrifying a lot of the time, and I'm constantly criticizing myself. Like I may look like I'm just talking and in the moment, but every time I say something, I think about if it sucked, like right afterwards, and have to listen to you guys while I think about if I suck or not at the same time, and then try to move conversation forward at the same time. But it's a very in the moment thing, and when it's done, it's done. It's time based, and that's a relief for me. For you guys, it's like I could be working on it for an hour and then I got nothing done, or I could have a lucky break and hit a point where, I work on it for an hour and I feel like I got a percentage of it done instead of zero. And it's hanging over your head at a
Mm-hmm.
constant pace. Whereas this show, when I'm doing it, I'm doing it. When I'm not, I'm not. But Sound Self is always in the back of your head, I imagine, Robin. And for
Oh
you
my
too.
god, it totally is.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I wonder. And then having Alexander Bruce on the show, who you collaborated with on
Yeah.
Antichamber, when he finished Antichamber and he was on the show, I think around when he finished it, um, he was like, "What do I do now?" Like this part of his life that was a stress, that was a fear, that was exciting, that was filling him
Yeah,
with
he was
life.
miserable.
Yeah, It's like part of him died when that game shipped.
But like after that, part of him died when the game shipped. So,
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time with him. Part of him died when the game shipped. He was miserable for a little while. He was that GDC. He was. I don't think he would mind me saying this. He was just a dick. He was just like he went. He was going to. He went to some party and just like grabbed someone's drink from their hands and poured it all over them. But this is like the kind of misery when part of you dies, right? And now, years later, he's one of the most like self-loving, good, kind people I know. It's like right now, for me, I've been in this thing for 4 years. There's this thing over me I get messages from my Kickstarter backers saying like, "Well, when's it gonna come out? Oh, when's it gonna come?" And I get it. You know, it's a sign of love. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't fucking know. I want it to come out too because I want to go travel. I want to like think about anything else. And like,
Yeah.
I'm changing so much through the development of the game, and it's like I don't have a chance to enjoy and learn who this person is because working for the task I set myself 4 years ago. So like I have this intuition that as soon as I'm done with this thing, right, there's space.
And space
And-
is
and-
allows for depression. Depression can just be there's an empty space in my
Yeah.
life and I don't know. Yeah, it's risky.
It's like you're on an exercise bike, working on the thing, and why are you working on it? Why are you doing this thing? Because you started, because it's what you're supposed to do. And when you don't have that thing anymore, there's like a, what am I for? What am I for? And then after that, you either find it to get on, or you're like, oh, I'm not for anything. That means I can just, be happy.
Yeah, just travel
that's
the
what
world
happened
and
to
live in the
Alex,
moment.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder if you'll finish Sound Self and then just get to enjoy Sound Self for like a week.
Yeah, maybe. I probably won't want to play it.
Son of a bee. Yeah, such as the
Like I really envy artists who like you look at Van Gogh, and any of his masterpiece paintings took a few months. Like that from the beginning of working, the equivalent of shipping it, just being done with it. That's a few months of personal growth of that person. Like that person was not radically different when he finished his self-portrait to when he started his self-portrait, right? And there are exceptions, of course, but like I can't think of almost any other art form where, like, imagine like you're writing a music track, the riffs, figuring out it's going to take you until you can be done with this song, right? I can't think of any other medium aside from like building a bridge or architecture or something, where it's like, yeah, you have this one project, it's going to take a while.
Right. And then when there's a concreteness to whether it's well made or not, too. I have to imagine in both of your heads.
Does it stay up or not? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I have to
that
imagine.
applies to your game as well, Talha.
Oh yeah. What about Robin? What did you think of Sleepy Time as you played it a little bit?
Oh, it was. I jizzed all over the place. What did I think of it? I really
That's the
appreciate
point, man.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. It feels kind of sad. Sleepy Time feels pretty sad.
Isn't it
Thank
impressive
you.
that at least I was impressed that he was able to move on from the shock value part, move on from the comedy part quickly enough that I started to feel connected enough to what was going on in the game that I actually felt bad. But in a way that compelled me. I mean, I was interested in seeing it all the way through.
Yeah, I would have kept playing it.
What did you think about the ending of the game? Did you see the ending of the game?
Oh, I don't think Robin got that far. He was just playing it.
I only played the first level.
All right, yeah.
I've seen the ending because the cinemas, the cutscenes are all clay sculptures talking to each other like statues. And if I remember correctly, the ending of the game talks about whether the whole game was stupid or not. And there's a really good part. I'm very impressed, Talha, with your ability to write in English. It doesn't seem to me that English is your first language, is it? Is English?
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. Well, you are in tune with how people are with each other enough to be able to write dialogue that is just ellipses of clay statues, like having a meeting or a lack of meeting of the minds where they're just at a standstill, just staring each other down, being like, I believe this is true. And the other one is like, I believe this is true. And then they just say nothing. That was in the ending cutscene, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, there are some awkward pauses, and the last level is actually all the characters jerking off together, and it acts like it acts as if it's like this beautiful moment of getting together, but the characters are actually just jerking off together. It's super awkward, but the game tries to show it as something beautiful,
Yeah,
which is
and
funny to me.
they're not physically together, but it reminded me of that scene in Amelie, the fun, artsy but Hollywood friendly movie by Genet and Caro, I think it was, French filmmakers, where Amelie is like aware of all the people that are having sex in the city, and she's watching them, but they don't know about each other. But she has them up in their head, and she knows that they're all having this experience at the same time, and therefore are sharing it without being conscious that they're all in it together. It made me feel like Amelie, but of guys jerking off alone, depressed at night. I knew they were all in it together.
When I was in school in England, and so I came into my sexual being in a room full of guys in Hertfordshire. And that's just what we do, Like, I remember coming into my dormitory with a roll of toilet paper and handing out bits of toilet paper to my friends because we were all just going to be jacking off that night because that's, what we were doing. And it didn't feel weird, it didn't feel awkward. Maybe it felt a little like, oh, this is kind of funny that we're doing this. But it's just like, and now looking back on that, like, I tell that to people and, like, there's laughter. It sounds so ridiculous, right? A group of 13, 14-year-old boys jerking off in a room together. But, like, that's just what, it's so not weird. It's so completely not weird.
Yeah.
We make it weird.
That's the recipe for awkwardness. Making it weird by deciding that there's something unnatural going on, and therefore you make it unnatural. Whereas if you were to just look at human beings as biological things, as animals that can think, why would they not masturbate in the same room together and not necessarily be aware or thinking about it while they're doing it? But it's like, we all fart in the same room and we don't make a big deal out of that.
Yeah. We all eat in the same room. You go to the right parties in New York City and you'll all masturbate in the same room and it's a celebration. But
I like where this is heading.
The concept of breaking taboos. And I am curious about how it's affected both of your works. Talha has already talked a little bit about how he was doing something for himself when he made Sleepy Time and didn't necessarily want everyone to know about it, but at the same time had enough anger maybe isn't quite the right word, but pent-up frustration and the need to have a little bit of power over his life and the direction it was going in. So he's like, I'm going to put this game out, even though it's about guys jerking off, and I don't care what anybody thinks because only like 10 people are probably going to play it. And then Kotaku wrote about it, and then he was like, oh God, now like I'm the masturbating game guy, and you had to deal with that for you. But I'm so glad that you did and broke that taboo. Have you felt like breaking taboos has been something that's been a part of game development for you from the start? I don't know what the culture is like in Turkey, whether deciding to be an indie game developer is something your parents would have wanted you to do, or whether it's something that's socially acceptable when you go out to meet people and that sort of thing.
I'd like to bookmark this as well because there's some breaking taboo stuff I'd like to.
Oh, yeah. And we'll get to you on breaking taboos. Absolutely, Robin, after we hear from Talha a little bit.
In Turkey, game development is not quite different from other countries. I think it's just part of software development scene. So when your mother sees that you're getting paychecks, she doesn't really care too much about what you're making, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, as long as it's not unethical or something.
Right. Did your mom find out about Sleepy Time?
No, she doesn't know. Please don't tell her.
So it got big, but it didn't get so big that it broke through the parent barrier. And your mom, I assume, doesn't read Kotaku every day, so she didn't catch it.
Yeah, and my parents don't really talk English, which gives me so much power over what I do. So.
Interesting. And before we move too far from it, I wanted to hear about Robin in terms of his attitude towards taboos, if it's influenced his game development style, his game development philosophy in any way, is motivation to get into games, to push back on anything.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, so for me, Sound Self, when I began working on Sound Self, I knew what it was, and there was, right, you have a personal relationship with the art that you're working on. Yeah, and it's like, I think that as you make art, you're sort of documenting a stretch, a span of your own personal growth, and the art object is just sort of an artifact of that, right?
Mm.
But for me, like, I remember when I first started talking about sound, I had my first peak experience. Which, do you know what a peak experience is?
I'm not
It's just
sure.
for you, it's an experience of non-duality, a mystical experience, an experience of the divine. Um, I had my first peak experience on LSD at Burning Man, and I had like major barriers to break through, personal barriers to break through, like personal taboos to break through before I could talk about Sound Self honestly. And the first was being willing to talk about psychedelics. I was not willing to talk about psychedelics for a long time. Working on, like that felt like, oh, making a game, a psychedelic game, a game that is inspired by drugs. That felt really taboo to me. I was really afraid of being interpreted as being kind of a dat. But then, as soon as I kind of got through that and was willing to talk about psychedelics, I found, oh, there's a much deeper barrier here. I'm holding like a personal taboo, and that was spirituality. That was talking about my spiritual experience. And like, man, each of us have. I mean, not everybody. I was pretty, I'd say, developed atheist for a long time, but I think for most of us, we have our relationship finds what we are, have a person, and it feels weird to touch a relationship with the universe. And it's interesting to me, like every game that I see, every piece of art, but every game that I see people making, I'm really curious who's the person who made this game, and like what I want to know also is like, what is this person's spirituality? And which is why, like, I love Ryan Green's work. He speaks very openly about his Christianity.
Mhm.
And
For those who don't know, Ryan Green made That Dragon Cancer,
yeah,
and very openly involved with Christianity and his philosophy and being able to cope with the loss of his son, which is the theme of That Dragon Cancer.
yeah.
Is it frustrating to you then, Robin, that we don't hear more about the people who make games? And
No, it's not, because this isn't. It's not really about games journalism. It's not really about people out there. It's about my personal taboo. I had a personal taboo. And any of these taboos, sorry, it's going to take me a whole bunch of times to get it right. Talha, you had a personal taboo talking about masturbation because of a relationship with Islam and your parents, right? Like, I had a personal taboo against talking about spirituality because of my relationship with atheism. And so it took me years working on this game before I could speak honestly about what I was trying to do with it. And what I'm trying to do with it is trigger and catalyze a mystical or spiritual experience. But I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that to almost anybody when I started working on it, because like, I had this experience of the divine on LSD, and it's just like, I'm surrounded by people who are self-proclaimed atheists, and I'm surrounded, I don't even know if that's the truth. I just, like, I had a belief about what my beliefs were. I had a belief about what stopped me from, like, really owning my experience and really, like, being honest with myself about my experience. And as soon as I was able to do that, I was able to, like, just recently, I added a guided meditation to the beginning of Sound Self. I wouldn't have done that 2.5 years ago, even though it's better for the design. I wouldn't have done that just because I had a personal taboo around spirituality.
I wonder, was it because you wanted to be interpreted in the right way, in the accurate way, and you thought that people would misinterpret who you are and misunderstand who you are if they were so focused on the LSD or the word spiritual, and how loaded it is and how it fills people with fear and inadequacy, just when they hear like, oh, this guy's spiritual, he thinks he's, you know, closer to God than I am, and then all of a sudden you're getting in like a who's better at knowing who God is competition with somebody with it by just saying a word and setting up that internal conflict with people.
Yeah, man. Just like all of that.
Yeah, I said something that probably was right in terms
No,
of
that was good. I mean, that was a lot closer to home than I mean, you say that, I'm like, jeez, yeah, and that's still true with me. That's, I think, what was truer for me before was I had a belief system before that didn't have room for that didn't have room for oneness, and sort of reality exploded, and it took me years to. And I mean, now certainly what you're describing is very true, right? I'm doing the guided meditations at the beginning of Sound Self, and there's this fear like, oh, maybe I'm doing a shitty guided meditation. Maybe by doing it as my voice, I'm making a statement, something like that. I don't know. Like, that's definitely, that speaks to a more true taboo, a more true current taboo with myself, such that when you said that, I'm like, oh, geez, yeah, there's that too. But I think the earlier taboo I had was great. It's great. But the earlier taboo I had was sort of like, I had very rationalistic family and very rationalistic. I surround myself with rational-minded people and scientific-minded people. I'm still a very scientific-minded person, but I guess like in my previous worldview for spirituality, and so I assumed I was around all spirit. So if I start talking about this stuff, I'm going to be discounted immediately. That's not necessarily true. There's so many different kinds of people, but like I had my own biases, my own judgments, and then like was projecting those judgments onto the world around me. And so when I had getting experience, like suddenly I felt those judgments projected back on me, which is why it just took so long for me to be able to be honest.
I think it's speaks to one of the greatest barriers between people being able to create anything for anyone else, to consistently do it, to do it with comfort, to do it with any sort of speed, any sort of efficiency. Getting in our own heads and getting the fear, which kills inspiration and keeps it from blossoming, is the biggest enemy to being able to be a maker of art.
And we all have it.
We sure do. We sure do. And you guys are getting through it. And I'm so thrilled that you are. To bring it back to Talha, is this resonating? I'm so curious about what Talha, as someone who's watched and listened to the show for a while, he is not. Robin, you're such a good speaker. You've spoken. Oh, my pleasure. And you've been doing it for a little bit. You've got the ability to get into a zone with. I'm going to express myself with words. It's very good. Talha, new to this, never been on the show before. How does it feel to hear Robin talk? I'm just curious about that because I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. It's great, and it's this show, you make people talk very good. So
another thing I love about what's going on right now, this moment in my life, trying to embrace it. Oh, I think we've got Robin on 2 calls at once, which is awesome.
Whoa.
He's on one of them. I know. Like Robin started to talk about psychedelia, and then all of a sudden his stream changed. So I had to like keep up with his reality as it was turning into, yeah, I love it. Yeah, exactly. So perfect thematically by coincidence.
Jonathan, I think there's something up with your audio.
Oh yeah? What's it like? Oh, okay. Nope. Okay. A creepy, muscular man, no hair, but I can't judge. Sunglasses, just came into my window and was like, "Hi." And then all of a sudden, my sound got bad. I think that I think he's messing with me. I think he's a prankster. Maybe I got punked. Maybe he's the new punked. And instead of Johnny Knoxville, it'll just be like the other guy, Steve Wilco from the Jerry Springer Show. That's who it looked like. Anyway, we were talking about being someone who makes stuff and getting through. Oh, my dog just made a loud noise. This is getting so wild, the show. Yeah, making stuff, pushing through the internal barriers that keeps you from getting something made, like wanting so badly for it to be interpreted properly that you may stifle yourself before you have the opportunity to be interpreted at all, to make anything at all. Talha, when you pushed through that with Sleepy Time, did you? And I know you had some regrets for a little while that you made it at all. Did you then hunger for that feeling of being seen and having Kotaku and Destructoid write about your games again? Did that motivate you to have your work be seen by people and this time be understood the way you wanted it to be on the terms you wanted, because this time you're ready for it? That makes sense.
Yeah, I think because like with anything that you make, you want to get a reaction to it. Because when you make something, you don't really know what it is really. But when people talk about it, you say, "Oh, well, this is how people say it. This is what I wanted to do. Maybe I failed. Maybe I did something different." And you kind of change while you're making something. When the process is so long, like Robin mentioned, like it becomes kind of an obsession of, I have to work on this, I have to finish this. But I don't think I will, feel empty when I finish soul searching, because I'm just going to play a lot of games that I'm missing out on.
So you haven't lost
So it'll be
your
okay.
passion for just playing video games, as a lot of game developers, even game journalists I know, or if you want to call them that, bloggers, YouTubers, whatever. After a while, when it becomes their whole world, they play games through the lens of someone who crafted a game and can't help but just pick apart all the design elements. And in terms of actually being transported anywhere, it becomes a lot harder for them. So they don't enjoy the thing that got them into the thing in the first place as much.
Yeah, you kind of stop playing long games. Like, I get sick of a lot of games after like half an hour. That's like the rest of it like feels like work, Oh, I just have to now do the same thing again for 5 more hours. No, thank you. I'm just going to move on to a new game and then get sick of that too. So it's like, I guess it's a bit about, analyzing the game as a game designer. Oh, also,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
but also it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit weird, but you kind of get bored of games more quickly than you will as a player when you're making games.
Yeah, some of the magic is just stripped from it.
I think I'm trying to figure out life. Here's what I got right now in terms of what life is, in terms of experiencing it. Like, you've got things that transport you to a place where things make sense, and then you've got all this discomfort at other times, anxiety, depression, physical pain, guilt, remorse, anticipation of failure, which I guess is anxiety. And the things that will stimulate one and give you the other change over time, and try to keep up with your own changes that you don't necessarily ask for. I think,
from a Buddhist perspective, loop right now.
yeah, is that? I don't know a lot about formal Buddhism. I've done some chanting to help people relax in the past. It really works. But in terms of knowing the science or the philosophy behind Buddhism, I don't know a whole lot about it. So did I describe that as Buddhist?
You just described karma.
Oh, that's what that is. So I was onto something.
Yeah.
This has been tested
and one begets the other. Like you're describing aversion to pain and attraction to comfort, or pleasure, attraction to comfort.
Sure.
Yeah, and in what you're describing, just from the Buddhist perspective, for describing karma, as long as you're in that loop, that karmic loop, pleasure implies pain, pain implies pleasure. You can't have one without the other. And so you may have like an up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. But the that oscillation between a place where things seem to make sense and anxiety, right? Like as long as you want things to make sense, as long as you long for that place where things make sense, you're also creating the anxiety when it's interesting to me. I love karma. I love karma as an idea. It's so misunderstood. Like when I think about karma, I think of it just as like a science of reality. I do something and that has an impact in the world around me, and the impact in the world around me is my world. And so what I do creates my world, comes back to me, and in sometimes kind of not so intuitive ways.
Right. Ways that defy whatever our internal logic is, whatever our internal idea of cause and effect should be, what we think is going to happen. Doesn't always go that way, but we're putting energy out there into the world, and it's going to come back to us or someone in some way. It's all eventually going to hook back around. Yeah, fun. Talking about karma. Didn't expect that. What a treat. One of the things I like about both of your games, it is a semi-coincidence that you both ended up on the show, but not really. I don't even know if I believe in coincidence, really. Things just work out too evenly a lot of the time for me to be sure coincidence is real. But anyway, they're both about tying together your moment-to-moment experiences in ways that, for me anyway, when I played both your games, I was driven to think about exactly what is going on in my understanding of time. And that's a heady one. Jeez, I don't know if I should even try, but I'm already...
Oh, no, let's do it. Let's do it.
You
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm sure you guys have thought about this already. I used to be an animator. I went to animation school. I was in art school studying like technical animation. And it was all about thinking about, well, this present moment only lasts... It doesn't even last. It's the opposite of space. It is a non-space. It is the thing in between now and what just happened. And everything you experience in music, in sight, in touch is about adding up what just happened with what is going to happen. And in between that is now, but it's already gone. So what is that? And where can that take you? To me, I most often talk about it when it comes to just like pacing in a platformer. Like, oh, I jumped over a thing and now there's a turtle in front of me, so I had to stop for a second, and that like made me think about time for a moment on some subconscious level, probably. But you guys are skipping straight to the metaphysical side of it, not doing any literal interpretations of jumping over turtles. With Talha's game, it was about like, I have to follow this rhythm. I have to live in this beat. I have to think about this next beat and be aware of the past beat constantly in a way that a lot of rhythm games have done, but by divorcing itself from any sort of fixed narrative other than like, I'm sad and masturbating, which is a narrative so many people live every night. So it was a truth that was just coming out. And Robin's game, more abstract than that even. Just where am I? Who am I? What's going on? Is time real? The game.
That's good. That's good. I might use that. Where am I? Here, I'm going to write that down.
Where am I? Who am I?
Yeah, they're both, they have that dreamlike quality that you can get from having your interpretation of time messed with by having your experience with time become so like floaty and ethereal through both focusing on it and not focusing on it at the same time. Is that what I'm saying? That's what I mean. But I wonder if it makes any sense. No one knows.
Sorry, I had to write that down because I just thought it was so good.
That's so cool. Thank you, Robin. Just call it how I see it. So, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that you were both driven to doing that. We talked a little bit already about Talia's drive and Talha's drive. It wasn't so much some artist statement in his head that he wanted to bring to reality. He was driven by inspiration, rage, sadness, made a thing, thought it wouldn't go anywhere. Then it did. As for you, Robin, how long have you known you wanted to make something like Sound Cell for? When did
It came into my head psychedelic experiences can take a long time to kind of integrate, and spiritual experiences can take a long time to integrate. Just because it completely shatters your perception of reality, and as long as you're sat in this reality, trying to understand that is just it's slow work. It's slow work, and so for me, but the personal growth and understanding follows this pattern of frustration, anxiety, pain, and then a breakthrough. Right. I mean, those eureka moments are how we work as humans. We're frustrated by something until we're not frustrated by it anymore. And at that point, it's just like, oh, I get it. And it's obvious now. And I remember sitting in the airport and I was thinking about designing a music game with a friend of mine. And the design of Sound Self just kind of like popped right in front of me. There's been a lot of experimentation and work on refining that and making that happen. But the central design occurred to me in less than a second.
It's such a fundamental idea, like have a VR set and just lose yourself in fractals and cool soundscapes. But what's good about Sound Self is that it goes all the way in. It doesn't, shy away from the main idea of, it just goes all the way and it does everything that it needs to do to make you get into a trance mood. So that's what's awesome about that.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So for me, I wasn't trying to express anything. I was trying. Davey Reedon, who made the Stanley Parables, a really good friend of mine, and he was really really frustrated with how I was talking about Sound Self for a long time because I couldn't figure it out, and I was like trying to describe the game, and he said, "Robin, what you're describing is an exercise bike." It's like, oh yeah, I'm not trying to express something. I'm basically making an exercise bike, but instead of you ride the exercise bike and then you get endorphins and muscles and you feel good. It's you ride Sound Self and it untangles your perception of reality. It's not trying to express anything at all. It's an exercise bike. For your reality. For your existential sitting in the universe.
Yeah, for living in your moment.
Yeah.
To be there.
Yeah.
How much time do we have? 15 minutes. We're doing all right.
We covered some territory.
Yeah, I think so. One thing I've noticed about a lot of game developers, and they would not always agree with me about it, but I still, you can't help but think what you think. Even if you know you may be wrong, still your best guess. They make games to reflect who they are internally and to give something of who they are internally, but they often wouldn't have gone with games unless they also wanted to make the world as they wish it could be on some level. With Robin's had these experiences, and stop me, Robin, if I'm misunderstanding you, but you've had these transportive experiences, these places you've been able to go to mentally and spiritually where things felt so real to you without being in physical reality necessarily. And you wanted to share that with people, I'm guessing. Totally. And that's the way. Wouldn't it be nice if that's how the world worked for people a lot of the time, at least more often than it is now, instead of thinking about, oh, I have to make as much money as I can before I die. And
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. If we got to like have genuine meaning in our life through the way that you found it. Talha, on the other hand, he's so self-depreciating. He was not thinking like, I'm going to give people meaning through my masturbation game. But at the same time, I get the sense that he may have been thinking like, this is my reality, and I want to be able to laugh at it. I don't want to just be miserable. I want to be able to be distanced enough from it to look at my own life and find the comedy in it and share that comedy in it and share a truth in it, and have people be in this reality with me. So I'll make a game about my reality and one of the saddest, like embarrassing sides of my reality, but I'm not going to be ashamed of it, because that's the way the world should be. We should be able to laugh, and we should be unashamed and just accept who we are. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but that's the sense of it.
Comedy is just a way to stay sane for some people. So when you're not feeling depressed, sometimes fun of it. Like so many people have anxiety problems in this day and age. It's like what gets me out of anxiety most of the time is just making fun of it. What causes anxiety, I don't know, but making fun of it kind of just makes it go away. So I just don't take it seriously, and then things get better in my head. So
Good to know. From what I know about anxiety, as it is a biochemical experience, it peaks and can't last for, I can't remember the time, and of course they haven't timed everybody, so they're just guessing what the average is, but I think it's like 45 seconds or a minute. And the only way it'll keep going after that is if it somehow finds a way to self-perpetuate. So you get anxious, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm anxious. And then you're anxious about how long am I going to be anxious for? And then
that's terrible.
that's so many people's reality. Whereas if you can laugh about it, and in doing so, feeling like you're connecting on a truth that is, you're safe from it because you're aware of it, and maybe not alone in it anymore. Anxiety, such an isolating feeling. So hard to empathize with other people when you're so afraid about, like, is a bear gonna rip my throat out any second? So that's why we have anxiety, to make us safe from bears. Carried over from our old animal days. We don't need it anymore. It's totally useless, but we're stuck with it. Well, maybe not totally useless, like Robin was saying. It can drive you to make all of these great things. Like, I wonder if both of you totally...
Man, well, if it comes from anxiety, I don't want it to exist.
Well, yeah, so anxiety, wrong word, but discomfort, I guess. Like, if both of you had completely comfortable lives where you felt like the world was exactly as it should be, and your fit in the world was exactly where you wanted it to be, do you think you would have ended up making any video games?
no, not really.
Okay, so I think yes.
Yeah?
I think there's two reasons to do anything. And reason one is because it's shitty and I want to make it not shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, and I want to make the world a better place is like another version of that. Is just like is my life sucks and I want my life to suck less, reskinned as the world sucks. I want the world to suck less.
Right.
Like even philanthropic efforts suffer from this, and I think they do suffer from it.
Mm.
And reason number two is, oh, this looks like fun. This will be fun. Sure. I mean, like, why are you? You can't stop yourself from blinking right now, or you can for a minute. You can't stop yourself from breathing, but you're not doing those things out of anxiety. You're probably not doing them out of fun either. But
but you're doing them out of natural. Just
yeah. But also, like, humans are creative, and you just naturally create. So I think that, like, if you're totally free from anxiety, if you love the world, you might do nothing, or you might make shit.
Uh-huh.
I think I've come up and down with the loving the world and the creating from anxiety on making sound self. You know, like when I first started working on it, there was no the world needs this. There was no sense that like this is like I'm anxious and I want to be less anxious. It was just like this will be fun. This is beautiful, and if nobody else makes it, it won't exist. So I'll make it. It sounds like fun. And then, you know, as the years wore by, it was like, I have to finish this or I'm not a good adult.
But you're still, it sounds like when you're in the moment of making it, you can return.
Yeah, when I'm in the moment of making it, it's just like I'm making it. I'm just checking things off the list. I'm doing things. We're not really doing much creative work anymore. But it's like, okay, checking this off the list, fixing this bug, checking this thing. Cool. It's fun. When I'm doing it, it's fun. When I'm thinking about doing it, it sucks.
Yeah. Man, I think one of the themes of this conversation is thoughts often suck.
Yeah.
At least make things suck. Being able to lose yourself in a feeling is so much better, regardless if it's a good or a bad feeling. I think internal conflict is like the worst. And if you can get through internal conflict by just picking a side of a feeling, be it
even if it's sad, even if it's like I'm sad,
right?
That's great, man. Sadness is deep. Sadness when you feel it, it's good. It's like
real.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fight with itself. You're there with it. You got the cloud over your head. You feel wet. You feel cold. You feel awful, and it's true. And there you are. Yeah. And then when you finally get into the sun again, it feels so friggin' good. Yeah. So wonderful that Robin has found a way to really engage in a state of play just around creating a game that other people will get to play.
These days, there's much more of the anxiety. You know, yes, that happens, and that was more the case at the beginning of the project than you know, like I'm by no means free from anxiety. There's tons of that. I I want it to be done. Why isn't it done yet?
Well, I hope you. It sounds like Talha will send you a build of Soul Searching.
Yeah,
this new game, which I played, I think for a half hour, maybe a little less. So maybe I got close to the end of the demo. So friggin' relaxing. So much about just I am a part of where I am and where I end and where the world begins. There's very blurred line there.
That's beautiful.
Every NPC is such a delightful little parody of someone who you might talk to in real life, but also a tribute to them. It's got that tribute parody sensibility that a lot of my favorite comedy comes from, and a lot of Talha's work has to it. So hopefully you'll check it out, Robin.
Beautiful. I want to play this. You describe it beautifully.
Oh, yeah?
I really want to try it. Yeah.
Oh, neat. Yeah. It's like Proteus.
I'm so happy to hear you describe it that way, because I just wanted to, the idea came from, I wanted to be a relaxing world. I wanted to be a kind of a, not happy, but, you know, in tune with whoever you are, you have a place in this world. I wanted to make that. So hearing you say those stuff made me feel good.
Oh, good. That's great. Make me feel good. I enjoy that when I can do it right. Somebody thinks I made Yuji Naka, co-creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, feel bad. They're mad at me on Twitter right now because Yuji Naka posted pictures of him at a Sonic event, and it looks like a funeral. Like everyone's frowning, and there's like flowers everywhere, and like a picture of Sonic, like in memoriam. But it's actually like an orchestral concert band. But I was like, looks like a funeral. People are mad.
Inappropriate.
Yeah, I thought so. If I were Yuji Naka, not currently working on Sonic, I would laugh about that, because we all know that the core of what that series was to people is kind of over now, but in a lot of ways. Not for everybody. I shouldn't speak in such absolutes. But anyway, yeah, making people feel good, making people feel bad. If you do anything, it may happen. Robin, you know, Robin, can you talk a little bit? Because we got a few minutes left, and we've been very positive, and I love positivity, but balancing
let's
it
get
with
negative.
a little bit of bite. Like, you've had to deal with some negativity, is my understanding. from people who are like inherently, what's the right word for it? There's a way people feel towards someone who they guess is working on a different level than them. Like the people, I'm guessing, Robin, have guessed that you think you're like smart and good at things.
Oh, I'm not smart and good at anything.
Well, I've met you one time before, and that was definitely my impression. Is that you were excited about trying. Oh no, not that you are smart. You're not like out there trying to sell yourself. You're not a narcissist who's peacocking all the time. You're like,
Thanks.
I made a thing, and maybe it's. Do you want to try it? I mean, and just open to everybody getting involved with it, and not like seeing barriers between people at all. But all of that can cause other people to feel insecure when they see like, wow, this guy's operating on a plane of existence that's a little different from mine. He's not held down by my like class system insecurities and feeling like every game needs to like constantly pat you on the back with a power fantasy. He's willing to like take this step beyond what I want to do or I'm comfortable with doing. They can come back with hostility after that.
Yeah, it happens. I know, but when it happens, it like I can see the love in it. So just recently, what I've been experiencing a lot of because I promised 1,200 Kickstarter backers that a thing would be done 2 years ago, and then didn't update them a lot because I was head down and frustrated and anxious. Like some people, there's probably a half dozen or a dozen or more of my backers who are really vocally pissed off about that, and I get it. I really get it, and it comes from love, right? It comes from like with the case of my Kickstarter backers, I think it's mostly they love the thing and they want it, and they don't understand why I'm taking so long on it. I don't understand why I'm taking so long, but I mean, and honestly, it's the same with any of this hostility. It's like, I don't get enough of it to feel harassed by it. I think there's a threshold, and it happens a lot more with women in the industry, but like I'm about as privileged as you can get, and so I don't get anywhere close to that threshold. But yeah, like when people say unkind or abusive things to me on the internet, it's just like, I see. There was this one guy who tweeted at me a little while ago something like about my hair being pink and nobody will take me seriously, and is it because my dad doesn't love me? And I just felt so like kind of sad, because it's like, I don't want people to take me seriously. And I thought about this guy's world where you're trapped in something where you want people to take you seriously, and like the love and respect of daddy or whatever that is really like crushingly important. Like I feel a lot of we're trapped in our hypnoses, we're trapped in our beliefs about the world and so on, and when somebody lashes out, that's not about me, that's not about it's about their pain, and their pain is a part of their world. And I think slowly the world becomes better. I think slowly the world becomes a better place, and we become more and more free as a people and individually as we grow up. As we realize, like, oh, I don't have to care about almost any of the things that I care about. But that just takes maturing and growing in time, both individually and as a culture. Sure. And let's face it, as games, we cater to, I think, probably a more immature demographic than books, for example. And I don't mean that as a criticism. It's just like just part of the evolution of our particular industry is such that we play out these power fantasies and stuff that I really don't mean that as a criticism of games. I love those games and so on, but that's not about games. That's about the particular ecosystem that games evolved in. Sure.
There's a place for regression and just being an animal and feeling good, running around in the game, punching the strangers, whatever. That's no judgment on that. But the fact that that's like the industry standard says something about a lot of things. It says something about where the people who are making the games think the money is, who's going to pay them for these things. We don't think, a 50-year-old guy who wants to just like get involved in philosophy is going to pay money for a video game. They think a kid who hates his life, who wants to escape, is going to pay for one.
Yeah.
So they make a game for that kid.
Or a 30-year-old who's still kind of living his childhood pain, and we're all living our childhood pain.
Yeah.
So I know I feel a lot of forgiveness for when that sort of abuse happens. And again, I'm privileged as fuck. Nobody's threatening to rape me. So like, and also my financial situation is not dependent on the internet liking me. So like I'm not threatened by it. And I understand that's like a major privilege, but I just like, and actually I feel really lucky for that I can take this stuff and it's just like, cool, you know, man, you do your thing. And I love you. I love your pain.
Yeah, you can. They give you a little piece of them that you can understand.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it comes out in hatred,
Yeah.
but it looks like hatred, but it's not. It's just, I hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people make other people into symbols of why they hurt, and whether I'm a symbol of that sometimes is not really my responsibility.
Yeah. To be able to enforce yourself from that. Some people never get there, or you know, I get there and then I lose it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get there and you lose it. You get there and you lose it. Every time one of my Kickstarter backers is like, "Where's the game?" I'm like, "Shut up! It's fucking coming." Shut up, Natalie.
There's times where you can be like, you were just reflecting exactly how I feel. Like,
yeah,
the only
totally.
people who want the game to be done more than your backers is you.
Yeah,
They're just like echoing their own feeling back to you, and you're
and that's why it hurts, because I'm like, I know, I'm pissed off too.
And then it'll be done. I can't wait for it to be done for you, not only for that reason, but for you to be able to engage with it in a whole new way. And that's going to be very exciting for you, and for me too, to hear about. We're a little over time. I failed. I got too much into the conversation. It was such a great conversation with both of you guys.
This was wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Robin. And Talha, is there anything we missed that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
Not really. I'm just happy to be here and to be on this program that I love so much. So, yeah.
Oh, getting a little weepy. Gotta hold it back. Yeah, it's
Jonathan, you're incredibly well spoken, Jonathan. You've described both of our games in ways that have stopped us.
Means a lot, guys. It's very sad to let go of this show. I really enjoy talking to people about how much I like what they did and trying to tell them about it. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some kind of show of that vein afterwards, after the show is over.
Well, can we go just a little bit longer? Because I want to know from you, what's next for you after Holmes?
I don't know. Conrad and I have talked a little bit. Conrad is the producer of this show, working alongside Sinistar, the famous arcade character from the 1980s, about doing a show that would be like 10 minutes of whatever conversation we just had, focused, like the part that is going to hit people the hardest, and then talking to another developer on that theme, and then stacking them all together to draw parallels between what they said, but also give a broader range of the topic at the same time. So both more focused and more broad simultaneously, and turn that into like a monthly show. That's an idea. I probably shouldn't have even talked about it, because now if we don't do that, people are going to say, you suck. You should have made that show I wanted. And that would be a huge compliment, but also I don't want to disappoint people. So that's one thought we've had. But I honestly don't know. Just playing it by ear, guys, as I always do. Hopefully I'll do something like it.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Just anything that you do, we'll be just waiting and watching. So.
Oh, jeez, thanks, Tahla. That means a lot. Well, we should wrap up, and they can follow you on Twitter. Talha, do you use more the Kaya brothers or your own Twitter handle?
We have both. We are at Kaya Bros on Twitter, and I am at Taloketo on Twitter, which is a weird nickname, but whatever, man.
It sounds very cute. It sounds very anime, Japanese anime. Robin, you're at SoundSelf and also at Video Dreaming? Is that right?
At Video Dreaming is my personal, where I talk and rant and post things that I think sound really smart. And SoundSelf is pretty much only SoundSelf news.
Gotcha. So they can go for both of those. I'm at Tron Knots on Twitter. You can watch this show later on YouTube, youtube.com/SupHolmes Show. You can listen to it on Libsyn and iTunes. And that's it. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.